Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports. Coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C. And them good old boys down south, I want to say bienvenidos to all of our listeners in Latin America, also across the pond in London, England, as well as Paris, France. Of course, you good old boys in Canada. We love you in Africa, the Big C tribe. But there's no one we love more than the good old boys down south in the land of the free and the home of the brave on a beautiful September the 9th, 2019. Rondo Deportes, Big C. How's it going for you good old boys down south?
Charlton, this was a mesmerizing weekend when you think about all that was going on. The U.S. Open in Flushing Meadows, New York. Baseball is still swinging hot bats. The Dodgers are no longer the best team in the major leagues.
Whoa.
College football, everybody seemed to figure out what they need to do in week 2. And the NFL, 100 years of glory.
Yeah, 100 years of glory and a lot of interceptions from week 1, Big C. Will anyone ever score on the Patriots? A lot going on. Will Serena Williams ever find her groove? You know how Stella got her groove back. Serena needs to get her groove back. A lot of things going on in the world of baseball. We'll bring it all to you, even some HBC college scores on the Big C Sports Show. I do want to say, what a beautiful day. Today's show is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. When you go by and test drive yours, tell them Charlton and Big C sent you. Big C Sports brought to you by Google and Alexa. Just say Google or Alexa, play Big C Sports Podcast. You hear from our sponsors. You're here. Welcome to the show. I'll introduce Big C as the Mystic, and he'll do his thing. And I really want to thank all of our sponsors for their support. Big C, I want to get right into this. I know we have this National Suicide Hotline. I know there's a lot of people who've been tragically or fatally injured in the Caribbean, and just all the issues with Hurricane Dorian. Just hope that people can just heed the warnings as much as possible. I know it's hard to get out of nature's way, but there's a National Suicide Hotline number. It's 800-273-8255. That's 800-273-8255. Or you can text 838-255. That's 838-255. Big C, a lot more people are starting to run that same PSA. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, that is so important. When you think about people who lack social interaction in this country that leads to devastating results that are not always good, the National Suicide Hotline number, it was set up for veterans, but it's there for everybody.
Yeah.
And it's something that people should take heed of, Charlton. If you're not willing to talk to somebody, at least extend this number to people that you know that may be troubled.
Yeah.
We don't all have the personal answers individually, but these people are experts on the other end of the line at the National Suicide Prevention Hotline number, Charlton. They know how to talk people through situations psychologically, to lend a hand, to understand what they're going through.
Yeah.
And that's very important in troubled times, Charlton, that people have someone to talk to. Everyone is so busy in their social lives today is that they don't always extend a hand to those people that they see being left behind. But the National Suicide Hotline number is there for that.
Well, definitely appreciate that. And everybody knows it's okay to just get out there and figure out that number. As I mentioned, there are some other networks that are doing the same thing. It's not about who first. Just do it. We can all figure out a way to help other people. Big C, I know we're going to get big into a lot of football that's happened over the past couple of days, and really appreciate seeing, good football, but also some teams that can work on a few things. We know that's always part of going through preseason for NFL teams, but if you're college teams, sometimes they get right out the start. They may have a scrimmage, but they don't have the same preseason setup that the NFL does. But I just want to bring up a couple of names for some HBC college football programs and their scores over the weekend. And I know oftentimes people talk about how come we don't hear about these games, but we're going to be that solution. We have Norfolk State with a 44-21 win over Virginia State. We have Hampton. They got beat by Virginia Union 36-17. It was Fort Valley State. They fell to Miles by the score of 38. And then another program that you think about, the HBCs playing the major, the Blue Bloods that you call them, Big C. Duke got a win over North Carolina A&T by the score of 45-13. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, the HBCs are great institutions that have been around forever. They don't get the notoriety on a national scale that we see with other programs or even high school football. Yep. But these are proud institutions with great athletes, Charlton, and they deserve the recognition whenever they can get it.
And Jerry Rice is from alma mater, Mississippi Valley State. They fell to Lamar by the score of 23-20. And then we had Middle Tennessee with a 45-26 win over Tennessee State. So we just want to bring in some of the top games from the HBCs and let people know that we haven't forgot about them. We want to make sure that we always bring them up. But I want to jump into college football, the Blue Bloods, as you call them, Big C, and see some of the programs that happened over the weekend. I know everybody has their own opinion about who the better teams are, but as I run down some of our top 25, and you can give me your thoughts on who did what and who deserves to have the mention. Some people think that LSU should actually climb higher. I don't know if they should climb higher because they gave up quite a few points against Texas, but they sure look good on offense. I'm going to start number 1, Clemson. They go to 2-0, Big C, and they beat up on Texas A&M, which was ranked number 12 at the time, by the score of 24-10. Kind of a lackluster game, in my opinion. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, it shows that Clemson's defense is much better than everybody give it credit for. Their offense has really struggled in the first 2 games of the year, and their defense has held them steady at number 1.
Yeah, they're good. I mean, they still don't see that offensive firepower that we thought we would see after they beat up on Georgia Tech. Number 2, Alabama, 2-0. They beat New Mexico State, mighty New Mexico State, by the score of 62-10. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Alabama didn't cover the spread in this game, Charlton, unfortunately. But, when you think about Tua and what he's doing at quarterback, Charlton, he has started off this year where he left off last year.
Yeah, he's actually pretty solid, Big C. Number 3, Georgia, 2-0. They beat Murray State by the score of 63-17. So a lot of the SEC, maybe they thought they were playing basketball, but that's a lot of points, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, ironically, Georgia trailed in this game 7-0 before they decided to run off 49 straight points, Charlton, without Murray State peeking at them. But Georgia is a very solid program, Charlton, a great junior quarterback in Jacob Fromm. There's going to be a big challenge in the SEC for supremacy this year.
Yeah, there's a lot of good teams, especially in the top 5. If you look at what number 4 Oklahoma did, 2-0, and Oklahoma seems to always find a different quarterback just to plug in again. But 2-0 on this season. They beat up on South Dakota 70-14. And next they have UCLA, and I feel bad for Skip Kelly. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, I guess Jalen Hurts is struggling at quarterback at Oklahoma, Charlton. He's accounted for some 700 yards passing thus far on the season and 12 touchdowns. So Oklahoma's really going to have to think about who they're playing at quarterback.
Yeah, is he even qualified to play quarterback? I don't know if he can handle. Does he even have the smarts to play quarterback, Big C? That's been the whole saying against African Americans. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, I guess, when they talk about quarterbacks being cerebral and intelligent, Charlton, he left one program that he had been in for 3 years, stepped right into another, and took over the starting quarterback position.
No, he looks really good. Big C, number 5, Ohio State is 2-0. And if you look at what happened with Cincinnati's program, maybe that Cincinnati win over UCLA is not that impressive anymore since San Diego State beat them by the same margin, Big C. But Ohio State with a big 42-0 win over Cincinnati. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, is UCLA that bad? I mean, Ohio State we know is good. Justin Fields has stepped right in where Dwayne Haskins left off. He has this Buckeyes offense rolling under first-year coach Ryan Day.
Yeah, they look good. I still measure everyone to what Auburn and then Oregon did in week 1. They stepped into the Lions' den and had a great game down to the wire. Big C, number 6, and a lot of people were saying, should this team jump to number 1 or 2 in the country? I don't think if you're number 1 or 2 in the country, you're giving up 38 points, but everybody has their own opinion. Texas Texas played strong, but LSU was just a better team, start to finish. They moved to 2-0 over number 9 Texas, 45-38. Very impressed with the Texas crowd. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, when you go into Austin in front of 105,000 fans, and that's what LSU did, it showed the maturation of Joe Burrow at quarterback. Here's a guy who accounted for 5 touchdown passes, Charlton. In the past, we're used to seeing an LSU quarterback throw for 5 touchdowns on the season. But Joe Burrow has this offense clicking. He competed with Dwayne Haskins for the quarterback job at Ohio State 2 years ago, decided to leave, and now he has LSU in a situation they haven't been in a long time.
Yeah.
They have a quality quarterback to go with those great wide receivers that they have.
Yeah, it's amazing. I think they had I think it was third and longer. It could have even been fourth down. They went for it and threw a touchdown pass. Most teams that punt or kick it away. I was really impressed with Orgeron's being more aggressive now. Here's a team that you can't, how do you root against the military schools, the academies? Michigan, they get out of another nail-biter and went to overtime. Now, they're number 7 in the country, but they don't seem like it. They go to 2-0. They beat Army 24-21 on overtime. That game only went to overtime because Army missed a field goal. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, when you look at Michigan, the way they play, they might be the 7th best team in the Big Ten. Not in the country, in the Big Ten. I mean, the Army, the Black Knights of Army took them down to the wire and actually should have won that game, Charlton. I had Army, to cover the spread going in there. And when you think about the academy young men that play college football, Charlton, they go to college to be military servicemen, not to be professional athletes. But they go out and compete against supposedly the best in the Big Ten and take them to task.
Yeah, it doesn't look too good for Michigan. I mean, you just give Army a lot of credit. I want to go to number 8, Notre Dame. They're 1-0. They did not play, but they'll play next against New Mexico, so they'll win that game Saturday. Let me give you thoughts on number 9, Texas. They're 1-1. They lost at home to LSU, 45-38. But Texas, this is a Texas team. If you tell the supporters at Texas, and they're there to win national championships, even though they haven't done it since the great Vince Young. But you score 38 points at home, even though they scored late in the game also to make it closer. And they still get beaten by a team that's not even favored to win the SEC yet. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, that lets you know how strong the SEC is. I think Texas was a little overrated when people said that Texas was back. Texas, at best, is going to win 9 games on the regular season. I see them losing at least 3 games this year, Charles.
Yeah, to give up almost 50 points at home, and they're talking about this is the year that they're going to, win a national championship or even get into the playoffs. You give up 50 points at home, nearly 50 points at home, and it's hard to say that they're one of the top 10 teams in the country, even though they do look very athletic. Number 10, Auburn. They go to 2-0 this season, beat Tulane by the score of 24-6. And I think their head was not really in that game after the big emotional win over Oregon. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, when you think of what you have out of the SEC, and you talked about the number of teams in the top 10 in the SEC.
Yeah.
You mentioned 4 teams out of that conference, Charles.
Yep.
That just shows the dominance of athleticism down in the Southeast.
Isn't it amazing that you can go in the top 10 in 3 of those programs? Actually, 4 of those programs are from one conference, Big C. Let's go outside of the top 10. Number 11, Florida, another SEC program, 2-0, beat University of Tennessee Martin 45-0. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Florida is turning around with Dan Mullins at the head coach. Felipe Franks is starting to develop as a quarterback.
Yeah, I look really good at what Florida's going to be able to do this year. Number 12, Texas A&M, 1-1, lost to Clemson 24-10. Isn't it amazing? In the state of Texas, which is known for their best, I would say they always argue with California and Florida for the top athletes. And then you look at Texas and Texas A&M, those are the top 2 programs in Texas. And they both get beaten. And I would say they both got beaten pretty soundly, Big C. What does that say about Texas football, your thoughts?
Well, when I looked at the situation with Texas A&M against Clemson, I mean, they had more people fall on the field than the Golden State Warriors did in the NBA Finals.
Yeah.
They just seemed to rattle Texas A&M's offense all day long. Kellen Mond could not get comfortable in the pocket, and the defense handled the day for Clemson.
Yeah, they sure did. Did a good job going down there in Death Valley. Now, I'm going to get you some Pac-12 flavor. Number 13, Utah. They go to 2-0 this season. They defeat Northern Illinois, but it was only 35-7. You would have thought they'd maybe score 50 points on that team. They're the number 1 team ranking-wise so far in the Pac-12. Your thoughts on Utah?
Well, Utah is that unknown entity out there in the mountains, Charlton. They've played solid football over the years. Their problem is they've gotten hurt over the years. The quarterback is healthy, the running game is solid, and they're playing tremendous defense right now for Willingham.
Let me give you, and I don't want to be the guy that brings bad news to the Pac-12 conference, but I hate what happened here because I've been pumping the conference out of here for a long time. But we look at, it's a shame, you look at Washington, the University of Washington Huskies. They were, number 14. They're 1-1. They lost to Cal Berkeley at home, of all places, by the score of 20-19. But that game was delayed by weather. That game didn't finish until like 1 o'clock in the morning, West Coast time. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Easton couldn't keep it going 2 weeks in a row, Charlton. You saw Cal struggle the week before against UC Davis,
yeah.
subdivision school, and they knock off one of the top teams in the conference the following week.
Yeah, not too good for the Pac-12. And then they're at home. They're versus Hawaii Saturday, which can also put points on the board. Number 15, Penn State, 2-0. They beat Buffalo 45-13 convincingly. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, when you look at what Penn State has done in their first 2 games of the season, Charlton, this is a team that's averaging 60 points a game. There's a lot of happy people in Happy Valley.
Oregon, number 16, 1-1. They were tied with Nevada after 1 quarter, and they pulled ahead for a 77-6 win. And I thought Nevada just kind of let up in that game. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, when somebody scores 77 points on you, I don't know if you just let up or you're frustrated, Charlton, but Oregon is an inconsistent team, and Justin Herbert has to play like that on a week-to-week basis.
Yeah, definitely. I think Nevada was still riding high from the upset over Purdue. Another program, number 17, Wisconsin. And Wisconsin beat Central Michigan 61-0. Big C, your thoughts?
When you think about the scoring that's going on in the Big Ten Conference and you think about Wisconsin, they got Taylor at running back, who's an outstanding young player, but now they have a passing game. They have a quarterback that they can feel comfortable with in the pocket, who can push the ball down the field.
He can really, and Wisconsin shut out South Florida, and now they have a second shutout. In their 2 shutouts, they scored nearly 100 points, Big C. Really impressive. That might be the best team to challenge Ohio State in the Big Ten. We'll close out on the top 20. And when you think about that, number 19, Michigan State, they have Arizona State coming up next. They go to 2-0. They beat Western Michigan 51-17. Big C, your thoughts?
They're most likely the best team in the state of Michigan. They've always had that in-state rival with Michigan. I think Michigan State should be ranked higher than Michigan.
Yeah, I think they'll get them too. A couple of games that ring a bell interest-wise. Number 20, Iowa, 2-0, beat Rutgers 30-0. Next, they're playing Iowa State. But Syracuse got blown out by Maryland 63-20, and they're in a TV televised game this week coming up against number 1 Clemson. How do they lose by such a wide margin, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, little is it known by everybody what Maryland has done offensively, Charlton. Maryland is the highest scoring team in the country right now in college football.
Yeah.
They're averaging 71 points a game. Mike Loxley, who was an assistant at Alabama under Nick Saban, came over, took over that head coaching job in Maryland, and has worked wonders from being the offensive coordinator at Maryland. Now he's the top flight coach right now offensively in the Big Ten.
Wow, here's another statement game for the Pac-12 Conference. We have University of Central Florida, number 18 of the country. They go to 2-0. They beat Florida. They beat FAU, and that was 48-14. Next, they take on number 23 Stanford, that was just knocked off by Southern Cal in the Coliseum. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, when you think about those games out there, they got to find a way to have a dominant team in that conference. Everybody seems like they got to knock each other off. You have a great game. Next thing you know, you fall to a lesser opponent within the conference.
Yeah, I just want to run down a couple of scores here because I want to get on some other things that I think are great to talk about NFL-wise. But Syracuse, talked about 1-1, lost to Maryland 63-20. Number 22, Washington State, goes to 2-0. They beat Northern Colorado 59-17. Next, they are at Houston. Remember how Oklahoma and Houston played earlier in the year. And then Stanford, mentioned them coming up. They lost to Southern Cal by the score of 45-20. They're at Central Florida next. Boise State with a close win over Marshall 14-7. And this is what I want to get into. This game coming up, Southern California, some polls have them ranked 24th in the country. But Lynn Swann steps down as the athletic director today. Don't really know why. They're off to the best start they've had in some time, Big C. But he stepped down. Maybe he wants to pursue other ventures, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, athletic directors, Charlton, are involved with more than just the football program. And Lynn Swann, who knows what he has in his life personally, and he felt it was time for him to step down right now. Maybe that everything is going through a regime change there in Southern California, but that program has to find a way other than just the athletic director to be relevant on the West Coast.
Yeah, they're off to a good start so far. We'll see how long it holds up. Top 5 quarterback performances this week, Big C's choices in Week 2 college football. I'm going to go with Elijah Sindelar out of Purdue. He was 34 of 52, 509 yards, 5 touchdowns, and just 1 interception. That's an incredible game, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, you think about what that young man did, Charlton, in 500 yards passing on the college level. That's outstanding. I mean, defensive backs have nightmares from games like that.
Yeah, and he really looked good, and that's the same gentleman that got picked off up in Nevada when they lost to Nevada Reno just a week earlier. Joe Burrow, if you don't know who this guy is, you know now. At LSU, he was 31 of 39 on the road, 471 yards, and 4 touchdowns, had 1 pick. But to think about the environment that he did it down at Texas, I think Texas is going to add about another 15,000 seats at one end of their end zone. An incredible stadium. But for that man to go in there and perform like that, Big C, I was really impressed. Your thoughts?
Well, in years past, it would take LSU quarterbacks two games, Charlton, to amass those type of statistics.
Yeah.
This was normally a team that you ran the ball on first down, second down, third down. Now LSU is throwing the ball on every down, Charlton. And Joe Burrow has really developed as a quarterback.
Yep.
And LSU has a bright future this year under Ron.
Yeah, Orgeron, I mean, imagine he was at USC and they didn't like him. Drew Platt, Ball State, 32 of 40, 439 yards, 6 touchdowns, 1 INT. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, when you think about these young quarterbacks that you've talked about thus far, to be on the top of their game just in the second game of the season, amassing over 400 yards passing in a game, and Sindelar over 5. In Sindelar, in his 2 games, Charlton, he's amassed over 900 yards passing for Purdue.
Yeah, I'm really impressed with him. Cole McDonald, Hawaii, and the Huskies are coming up next. 30 of 52, 421 yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 INT. They will throw the ball at Hawaii. They've been doing it for a long time. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, you think about Cole McDonald and the University of Hawaii, Charlton. They've knocked off 2 Pac-12 teams. They've knocked off Arizona, and now they've knocked off Oregon State, and they have Washington coming up.
Yeah.
And in those games, Cole McDonald has passed for over 400 yards in each one of those games. Washington better start watching some tape.
Yeah, they better start watching some tapes. And so even when you think about Pac-12 football, the NCAA, you think about 3 of the Pac-12's top 5 projected teams. They already have a loss. That's Oregon and Stanford and Washington. They've all lost. Only Utah, Washington State, and USC are up there that are undefeated so far. So we'll see what happens in the Pac-12. But it looks tough to get into the bowl playoffs this year. I wanna get your thoughts on something, because so much happens in the world of football, and we have so many things happening that sometimes are outside of the realm of I mean, we don't control what happens. But before we get into what happened last night with the New England Patriots, it was a 33-3 beatdown of the Pittsburgh Steelers. And now they're going to get Antonio Brown. I think Antonio Brown might be smarter than everybody, Big C. He got out of Oakland only to go to the best team in the league. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, as I said last week, Antonio Brown punked the Oakland Raiders. You got to understand, Antonio Brown and Bill Belichick wanted to do a deal last year, but the Pittsburgh Steelers were not going to trade Antonio Brown to the hated New England Patriots.
Yeah.
So as you think about him going to Oakland and all the antics that went on in Oakland, I mean, to leave that situation in Oakland, to do everything that he could do to get out of his contract. I mean, everybody's like, wow, he's leaving his money on the table. These black athletes are not poor. They're all millionaires. Yeah. They're all savvy. Think about the commercials that Antonio Brown has had, all the news clips. He's hired a production crew to follow him around and do all this, to orchestrate this.
Yeah.
So he has played the media. He played the Oakland Raiders. He's going to the New England Patriots. Now, this is the thing that everybody has to be aware of with him going to New England.
Yeah.
If he gets anywhere out of line in New England, Bill Belichick will cut his butt in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
He'll come in there and be like turning off a light switch. He'll be gone that quick.
Yeah.
And then after the game last night, he has to realize, do the New England Patriots really need me? No, they don't.
No.
So I really have to toe the line in going to New England, because think about how Chad Johnson was a few years ago when he went to New England.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, Chad Johnson wasn't needed in New England. He was a non-factor.
Yep.
Antonio Brown can assist the Patriots, but he has to be a Patriot to do that.
Yeah. I think it's so interesting that you brought up the fact, you know, think about New England. They've had the Spygate, they've had Deflategate, and now for you to just bring out this story that Antonio Brown and Belichick wanted to get together last year, and so some things happened at Pittsburgh where he didn't even show up for practice when the Steelers needed one more win over the Saints to get into the playoffs. And so when he showed up without practicing, Coach, Tomlin said, we don't need you, go home. And now this man is ending up where he wanted to be. It was never about his helmet. I think inside of himself, he's a smarter man than we all give him credit for. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, think about this, Charlton. Bill Belichick got hit with Spygate a few years ago for videotaping the New York Jets. Remember that?
Yep.
Antonio Brown videotaped his coach in the locker room and got fined for that. So now Bill Belichick can say, I'm not the only guy who has videotaped somebody on this team.
They say the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, Big C. I think that's funny. I want to run down some things with Big C Sports for NFL and get Big C's thought, and then we'll come into the Big C timeout. But Delanie Walker of the Tennessee Titans was quoted by the late Dennis Green, if you're going to crown him then. When he said that the Titans knocked out the Browns, and the late Dennis Green said the Bears are who we thought they were. But you think about what the Titans did to the Browns. 30-point win, 43-13. Sometimes you say, well, we needed that to get our heads right. But maybe Delanie Walker's right, Big C. Maybe they are who we thought they were. Your thoughts?
They are who I thought they were. Charlton, I said that the Browns would not win more than 8 games this year.
Yeah.
Everybody said, oh, they got these guys. They got these guys.
Yeah.
And I played the game, Charlton. You cannot put all those personalities together. You take the head coach, Freddie Kitchens. He was an offensive coordinator, an interim offensive coordinator last year. He wasn't the head coach, Charlton.
He was lost.
He was a guy that would sit there. He has changed his mindset. He is not the same lackadaisical guy that he was last year. Now he's working with intention.
Yeah.
So he has to have all this pressure on it. They trade away their best offensive lineman to bring in somebody, Charlton.
Crazy.
You're building an offense. You get rid of your best offensive line. I don't care how many weapons you got. Ask the Atlanta Falcons.
Yeah.
You can have all the wide receivers in the world, but if you have nobody to block for you, your quarterback means nothing.
Yeah.
And Baker Mayfield shot off his mouth all preseason and all offseason, being cocky and arrogant. Them guys on defense didn't appreciate that. And they hit him in the mouth all game long.
Yeah, he's still using profanity in the press conference. He doesn't give a blankety blank what people think. Well, I think the Titans didn't give a blankety blank what he thought in the game either. So in going forward, Big C, you have Beckham, you have Mayfield, and they're supposed to be the next Bonnie and Clyde and to steal everything from the NFL, maybe the Lombardi Trophy. But if you contrast that, you have Bill Belichick also. Belichick, when he was at Cleveland, it wasn't that successful. He got let go. And now he's at New England, different mindset, even from ownership. How about you juxtapose, well, the Patriots don't really talk, but Cleveland was talking as if they're the ones that had the 6 Super Bowls. Big C, your thoughts?
They talked all offseason, Charlton. I mean, this is what you have with lack of professionalism. That's what you have in Cleveland. You have a young, cocky quarterback. He was the number 1 draft pick. Think about how many number 1 draft picks are playing quarterback in the NFL and starting for teams, Charlton.
Yeah.
They're not shooting off their mouths like Baker Mayfield is.
No.
He's running off his mouth like he's won something.
Yeah.
The guy as a starter in the NFL has won, 6 games?
Yeah.
6 games. So what makes him an elite quarterback? I don't know why everybody jumped the gun throughout the media, talking about, oh, the Browns are all this, Baker Mayfield's blah, blah. They bring in Odell Beckham, who was a problem in New York. If you were a problem in New York, your butt's going to be a problem in Cleveland.
Yeah, you're going to be a problem.
And he's going to get fined by the league. He was so damn cocky, he's out there wearing a $250,000 watch during the game, trying to play football.
Wow.
He wasn't thinking about playing football. He was trying to bring attention to himself in Cleveland.
Yeah.
That's the dysfunctionality of the Browns already.
Yeah, sometimes you got to have an order, and if you don't have order from the top down, it's going to show on the field. We're going to come up on what's called the Big C timeout. Really excited about a lot of things that are happening in football. I loved our thinking about what happened in college football, bringing up some HBU scores. And now we're going to get more heavy into the NFL. After we take the Big C pause, we hope that you'll come back and join us. You'll love what we have to talk about. All right, we are back from the Big C timeout, also known as the Big C pause on the Big C Sports Show. You can follow Big C Sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on the #1 iHeartRadio platform in the United States of America. And you can also follow us on Apple Podcasts. You can follow Big C Sports on Google Podcasts. You can follow us on a speaker. You can follow Big C Sports on YouTube. You can even follow us on TV with Xfinity Comcast Television. And what I really like is the app by Alexa. Just say Alexa or Google Play Big C Sports Podcast, and you'll hear from our sponsors. You'll hear welcome to the show. I'll introduce Big C as the Mystic, and he'll do his thing. And I really appreciate all the growth we're having. I want to get into last night's game. New England Patriots defense in the last 2 games Would you believe they've only given up a total of 6 points? That's against the Steelers. And then the Rams last year in the Super Bowl. And they made Big Ben look confused in a 33-3 beatdown. I recall when Big Ben said he felt like he wanted to retire a couple of years ago. Maybe we should believe him. Bixie, your thoughts?
Well, I go back to what all the media said, that Ben won't have all the distractions of Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown.
Yeah.
This is his team now.
Yeah.
He can go out and play football and be comfortable. Well, he looked very uncomfortable. I don't know if he needed some Pepto-Bismol or not during the game, but he looked like he had an upset stomach with what the New England Patriots defense was doing.
Yeah.
You know, you talked about Jared Goff. Was he worth $100 million after only scoring 3 points in the Super Bowl against this Patriots defense? You look at Ben Roethlisberger. They just gave him a contract extension and gave him more money.
Wow.
Did he look comfortable against this New England defense? And this is a guy who's a veteran, who's been to Super Bowls.
Yeah.
And he could not produce a touchdown against this great defense. New England knows how to play defense.
Yeah.
I don't care who the team is. Ben Roethlisberger is a pedestrian quarterback like everybody else against the Patriots. You think about the Patriots, they'll most likely go 8-0 before they're challenged this year.
Yeah, and the thing about Big Ben, I still remember the last 2 playoff seasons he had, even though they missed last year, he has 8 interceptions in 2 playoff games, and then last year they didn't get in, and they all want to blame Antonio Brown. Well, there's no Antonio to blame for this performance. I mean, it's just amazing how things happen. I want to also stay on the East Coast down south. Now, if you look at San Francisco, there's been a lot of talk about Jimmy G and how great he could be. I think $137 million. I always thought he was overpaid. And I know they're going to be happy they got this win, but it was because of him. They should thank Jameis Winston for throwing 2 pick six. But he had a pick six that gave Tampa a score, and the defense stepped up and won the game for the 49ers. But I want to know your thought on a national level. They're going to try to make it about Jimmy G having a good game, and he did not, Big C. He can't really throw the ball more than 30 yards downfield accurately. He's good when he dumps the ball off 10 to 15 yards and lets the receivers or running backs run. Your thoughts?
Well, Garoppolo had a very mediocre game against Tampa Bay. It's just Jameis Winston had a pathetic game against San Francisco.
Yeah.
Both quarterbacks threw pick six. Winston just happened to throw 2. So San Francisco really has to look at what their defense is doing. Their defense is a lot better than what people gave it credit for. Yes, the quarterback gets the accolades for a victory, but this game goes to the defense of San Francisco and the outstanding game that they played.
Yeah, to see Richard Sherman, remember him from the Legion of Boom up in Seattle, and now he's in San Francisco, had the Achilles tear, and people thought, well, he'll never be back. This is a great message for guys who have the ACL tear, Big C, or the Achilles tear, because he's one of those guys, but he came back, and he may be up in age, but he knows how to cover. He's so smart in baiting a quarterback on where to throw the ball, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, the interception that he had for the pick six, Charlton, that was actually a ball that was overthrown to a running back out in the flat. Jameis Winston he looked like Ben Roethlisberger in this game, Charlton. You would think a guy now in his 5th year in the NFL would be more poised in the pocket for a big-time game, but Jameis Winston struggled in this Bruce Arians offense. That was Richard Sherman's first interception in 2 years in the NFL, Charlton, and he happened to get a touchdown out of it.
Well, let me bring it to another quarterback, because I know people want to say your cousin, Kirk Cousins, is worth the $80+ million that they gave him. He only threw 10 passes yesterday. And maybe that's all they needed him, though, but they gave him way too much money to hand off. He was 8 of 10, 98 yards, 1 touchdown pass, and he also ran a pass for a score. But you're not paying a guy $80+ million to hand off the football, but I know they'll take the win up in Minnesota. So the Vikings, they shut down the 3rd highest paid quarterback in the NFL, and the defense held the highest paid receiver to, I think, about a touchdown with less than 30 seconds to go into the game. Dalvin Cook ran over the Falcons defense. There's something about the 28-12 win that the Vikings had yesterday over the Falcons. It showed one thing. You can pay quarterbacks too much money in this league, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, that game wasn't even close, 28-12. You got to realize that the Vikings had a 28-0 lead in that game before the Falcons could even blink. Julio Jones, the highest paid receiver in the NFL, had 6 receptions for less than 40 yards and 1 touchdown with less than a minute to go in the game, Charles.
Wow.
When you think about Matt Ryan, he looked uneasy all game long. Kirk Cousins, the Vikings figured out what they needed to do with him.
Yeah.
Hand off the damn football to Dalvin Cook.
Yeah.
Dalvin Cook is healthy.
Yeah.
He's one of the best running backs in football when he is. Why sit there and throw the ball all day when you can control the ball on the ground? And that's what Dalvin Cook did, and let the defense put the pressure on the opposing quarterback.
Yeah. Well, think about another quarterback. We take the Detroit Lions, quarterback Matt Stafford. He got his team out to a 27-9 lead in the fourth quarter over the Cardinals. And then you look at this rookie quarterback in Kyler Murray, who played at Allen High School in Texas and then the University of Oklahoma. And he looked like he was in over his head at first, but he came back and regrouped, Big C, and he found a way to lead him back to a tie in dramatic fashion. The game ended in a 27-27 tie. But when you think about being up 27-9 over a rookie quarterback, and you got Stafford making $100+ million, and he could not keep the lead, it reminded me of the New England game, Matt Ryan and the Patriots and the Falcons, and they were up 28-3 at halftime, and Brady came back. This had similar feeling to it, but Kyler Murray's just a rookie, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, he's just a rookie, Charlton. He threw the ball over 50 times in his first NFL game. You think about the Arizona Cardinals, this is a team without any offensive line or without any defensive line. Matthew Stafford had all day to throw the ball.
Yeah.
Made some bad decisions late in the game. Kyler Murray, though, got his legs up under him after that first half and found that poise to bring his team back and tie up the game, Charlton. He is now going, I hope that he can figure out the NFL game.
Yeah.
But the Cardinals defense let him down even in overtime, Charlton. Quarterback had the ball in his hand out in the flats for a pick that would have set up the Cardinals for a game-winning field goal, and the defense let him down again right there when he dropped a wide-open pass that Matthew Stafford hit him in the hands with.
Yeah.
So the Arizona Cardinals showed some promise. The Detroit Lions, I think Matt Patricia right now is a little nervous.
Yeah, they're just the same Detroit team. So I'm really impressed by that. And just get your thoughts on something. Baker Mayfield in his second season out of Oklahoma. Also Murray in his first season out of Oklahoma. I was more impressed with Murray once he figured things out than I was with Mayfield. Would that make any sense to you, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, like I said, Murray is trying to figure things out. Everybody had already anointed Baker Mayfield.
Yeah.
You think about Vegas. All of a sudden, they dropped 20% as far as their chance of going to the Super Bowl after game one loss.
Yeah.
Because people are realizing you can't play the game on paper.
Right.
The media plays the game on paper. The players play the game on the field. Baker Mayfield had not took the time to develop in the offseason because he was too busy marketing his brand.
Yeah.
Kyler Murray didn't get reps during the preseason because Cliff Kingsbury wanted to save him.
Yeah.
Now his preseason has started, and he's getting the reps, and he gets an opportunity to develop.
Yeah, really impressed. Let's go back across the country. The Rams, LA Rams, and that stadium should be ready for kickoff of 2020 in Los Angeles, actually Inglewood, the Rams' new home stadium. And they may allow the Chargers to come with them, Big C, from what I understand. But the Rams went on the road, and they handled the Carolina Panthers 30-27. Todd Gurley had 97 yards on 14 carries. Malcolm Brown had 53 yards on 11 carries. And Jared Goff only had 186 passing yards. But I also think that Chris McCaffrey, how great he played for Carolina, they had so many missed opportunities. That could have gone either way, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, it shows with the Rams, that you don't have to throw the ball all game long, just like with your cousin in Minnesota. Hand the ball off. You got Brown and Gurley. You got two running backs getting your 150 yards on the ground.
Yeah.
That keeps all defenses at bay, so you don't have to have a 300-yard passing quarterback. Cam Newton looked like he did at the end of last year, just throwing the ball to the opponents.
Yeah.
Cam Newton, to me, one of these days he has to grow up and the light has to come on that he is an NFL quarterback, that he needs to stop showboating.
Yeah.
He has too much talent to be as lackluster as he is as a player. Christian McCaffrey, 100 yards rushing, 100 yards receiving. I mean, he was just a workhorse in the game.
Yeah, I really like McCaffrey. He's not the biggest guy, but he still outperformed Reggie Bush when they were both Pac-12 running backs, Big C. I want to go up to the great Northwest. The Seattle Seahawks, they came from behind to hang on for a 21-20 victory over the Cincinnati Bengals after holding Cincinnati to 3 points and 2 turnovers in the final 6 drives. I know they have Jadeveon Clowney. He's going to help on the end, but he's never had double-digit sacks either for Clowney, but he's still an imposing figure. There's something about Seattle. They say they're too old, their coach is too old, and no matter what they do, they're going to regret not running beast mode many moves ago against New England on the 1-yard line. But a good win nonetheless, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Russell Wilson does what he needs to do to win football games. Tyler Lockett had an opportunity to secure the game earlier for Seattle and let some passes slip through his hands. DJ Metcalf stepped up as a rookie wide receiver. But the defense for Seattle in the second half held down the Bengals. When the Bengals were rolling, Andy Dalton seemed to have the game at hand.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, the defense for Seattle rolls up, got a little liquid sunshine falling in the northwest up there, Charlton.
Yeah.
And Russell Wilson brought his team from behind with a 21-20 victory.
Well, let me keep you up north, but I'm going to take you to the northeast. We fly all over the country on Big C Sports, Big C. The New York Jets, they were up 16-0. Think about this. But they fall to the Buffalo Bills 17-16 in a divisional game. And this is something where you look at these two quarterbacks that they just want to make sure that they get the headlines for being NFL top flight quarterbacks. But I don't see it happening. And now I believe it's more hype. But the best part about Buffalo and the Jets is you get to hype them before week one, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Dalton, this is your boy Sam Darnold out of USC that, he has not progressed as a starting quarterback.
No.
You're up 16-0. They've given you new toys to play with in the offense. Le'Veon Bell scored early, but you could not get him back in the end zone again.
Nope.
You would have thought that he would have matured. Everyone said how great he was as a rookie, but he's starting off his sophomore year worse than he did in his freshman year.
Yeah.
When you think about Allen in Buffalo, here's a guy that had the poise to bring his team from behind. And so when you think about it right now, Buffalo is the best team in the state of New York.
Yeah.
They're better than the Giants and they're better than the Jets.
Yep, they really are. Big C, you look at that. We're staying on the East Coast, Big C. I love when POTUS can go. I don't know if POTUS. You think POTUS goes to football games or does he just watch on the Air Force One, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I don't know if he watches him. He's sitting there sipping a Diet Coke, and I don't know if he can see through the glass.
Okay, I don't know if he would get booed in Philadelphia because they booed Santa Claus. But the Redskins were leading the Philadelphia Eagles 20-14 in the third quarter. Deshaun Jackson and Carson Wentz, they explode for a 27-20 division victory. That was a good football game, and love the crowd at Philadelphia. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, you think about Deshaun Jackson, Tampa Bay gave up on him, Charlton, but he still has the speed to get deep. He had 2 long touchdown passes from Carson Wentz, which helped the Eagles pull out this victory over the Washington Redskins when Case Keenum had gotten them up, Charlton, in the game, and the Eagles had that firepower to come back from behind and take that win in the division.
Yeah, we're going to fly back to the West Coast where we look at the Los Angeles Chargers. They seem to have the game in hand, and the Indianapolis Colts with Jacoby Brissett mounted a great comeback, tied the game at 24. They went into overtime. Now, this is not the great Andrew Luck. Remember how great Andrew was last year media-wise? But Brissett kind of given the steering wheel, not really having a lot of time to prepare. But they went into overtime where the Chargers eventually won it in front of 30,000. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, it was an exciting game back and forth. I think the player who missed out the most on this game was Melvin Gordon.
Yeah. Because
the Chargers had a running game, and there's really no need for Melvin Gordon to hold out. If he wants to get paid, he just needs to come on in.
Yeah.
But Phillip Rivers shows that he can still get the job done for the Chargers, Charlton. He was able to manufacture a victory against the visiting Colts in that game, but Jacoby Brissett did not look bad in his first game starting this season.
No, when you think about it, I wanna bring up a couple of other just dominating performances because quarterbacks. I mean, I always like to bring this in because I'm a realist. I know that the NFL, they love this idea of bringing the hip hop Jay-Z generation. For what? Jay-Z hasn't done anything for football. I mean, everybody should have opportunity, but at the same time, just because you're a rapper, it doesn't mean you can make the league better. That's all for branding. What they really can put their money behind is a guy who's been quiet. He hasn't made a lot of noise. He just shows up and plays. He plays for Jerry Jones and the Dallas Cowboys, and they have the best unpaid quarterback in the NFL, and Dak Prescott, in a 35-17 victory over division rivals, the New York Giants, and the prodigal quarterback of Eli Manning. Prescott, 25 of 32. 405 yards, Big C, 4 touchdowns, and he still can't get his money, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Jerry Jones was sitting up there wincing, in this booth, watching this performance by Dak Prescott as the rest of the NFL did also. But the thing that I love most about the game, Charlton, with all the media proponents who kept saying that Dak Prescott is not a franchise quarterback. that you can't put your trust in Dak Prescott. You can't pay Dak Prescott.
Right.
He is just a serviceable quarterback. Well, he left this weekend in the NFL with the best numbers of all quarterbacks in the NFL, Charlton, in week 1.
Yep.
And so when you want to sit there and say this guy is not an NFL quarterback, that you don't pay him, Jerry Jones will pay Dak Prescott within the next 10 days. He will have a new contract, Charlton, that will make him one of the top 4 paid quarterbacks in the NFL because he warrants it, Charlton. He has done everything that you can ask of a quarterback. Eli Manning looked uncertain in this game. They put in Daniel Jones late.
Yeah.
And you wonder, how long will Eli be the starter? If he's uncomfortable in this situation now, he's not going to get any better as the year goes on.
Big C, Prescott threw for 405 yards, and they still don't want to give him the money. And then Goff threw for, I think, 189. So if my math is right, Prescott outthrew him by more than 200 yards. And if maybe Jerry Jones should watch that tape on the guy that threw for half the yardage of his own guy, Goff versus Prescott, and pay that man his money.
Look what your cousin in Minnesota threw for, Charlton. He threw for less than 100. So, I mean, it just equates when you look at the highest paid quarterbacks in the NFL. Aaron Rodgers only threw for 230. Matt Ryan threw for just a little over 300.
Yeah.
But he didn't even produce a touchdown to less than a minute to go in the game.
Yeah. I mean, Jerry, I know Jerry gets Big C Sports. Just listen to us and pay that man his money. It won't hurt you, Jerry, because this is Dallas's best year to win the Super Bowl since the great Troy Aikman led them to their win, the couple of wins. They got 3 Super Bowls. But this is the chance for them to do it. They got to do it now. They can't keep having dysfunction. The Chiefs started off just where they left off last year, and they are who we thought they were, Big C. They scored in their first 7 possessions, 4 touchdowns, 3 field goals. Think about this, a 40-26 win over the Jacksonville Jaguars in Jacksonville in the heat and humidity. But the Jacksonville Jaguars also lost the great Nick Foles with a broken collarbone. But Gardner Minshew, he's a real deal, Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Gardner Minshew completed his first 13 passes when he came into the game. And even on that play that Nick Foles got hurt on, Charlton, he was 5 of 8 at that time in the game and dropped a dime for a touchdown.
Yeah.
So Jacksonville was showing promise offensively. But I think Kansas City has this little young kid that might someday be pretty decent as an NFL quarterback named Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
Well, when you think about what Mr. Mahomes does, Charlton, when he's in a game, you know, 4 touchdowns once again, 3 touchdowns in this game. I mean, he's thrown touchdowns against every team in the NFL that he has played. He now has 53 touchdowns in his NFL career, Charlton. Just in his last 17 starts.
Yeah.
Regular season starts, he has 53 touchdowns. You think about that, that's the most all-time, Charlton, and the most yards in the 20 starts of any quarterback in NFL history.
Yeah.
So what Mr. Mahomes does with that offense, and they even added more weapons. Sammy Watkins, almost 200 yards receiving. Tyreek Hill was out. Sammy Watkins exploded. Sammy McCoy, 81 yards rushing in this offense, Charlton.
Yeah.
The Chiefs have no weakness, and the defense is even better.
No, the defense is good too, but they got, I think Hunt got hurt also for Kansas City, and it just looks like they have an embarrassment of riches if they don't get to the AFC Championship game this year. But again, we saw what happened with New England and how great their defense is. You may not want to get to the AFC Championship game against that team, but I want to bring up a couple other things that happen in the NFL because I'm telling you, it's a sad dog that won't wag his own tail. But this next player, when you think about what he did in Jackson, because he was told that you're not good enough for the NFL at a quarterback position. You're not smart enough, that you're just a running guy. We don't know if we can trust you with our franchise. Lamar Jackson, 17 of 20, 324 yards, 5 touchdowns, 59-10 win over the Dolphins. And this is a guy that just last year, all the pundits in the NFL, they were saying, well, this guy is not good enough for the quarterback position. I think he'd do better if he learned to play defensive back or wide receiver. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I think there were 4 quarterbacks drafted in front of Lamar Jackson last year in the draft. I got CTE half the time, so my memory always is not accurate. But when you think about it, of all the quarterbacks in the NFL yesterday, Charlton, he was the only one to have a perfect QBR rating. The only quarterback in the NFL yesterday to attempt 20 passes or more and have a perfect QBR rating. But as they say, this is a guy who was just a running quarterback. He only ran the ball 10 times in the game versus the Dolphins.
Yeah.
He led this team to victory with his arm. He was a pinpoint passer. I mean, he hit the deep ball. He hit the intermediate ball, Charlton. Mark Ingram really helped him in the backfield as that veteran running back.
Yep.
This Baltimore team, and everybody said Ozzie Newsome didn't know what he was doing when he drafted him. They said John Harbaugh was going to lose his job playing this young guy at quarterback, Charlton. Well, I think everybody in Baltimore right now is pretty comfortable with those decisions that were made.
You think? So, and I just want people to just, even Kyler Murray, when you think about him, Kyler Murray in his first NFL start for the Cardinals, he outperformed 22 other NFL starting quarterbacks, and he, of course, was picked by the Oakland A's to play baseball. And many people said, well, he's not tall enough to play in the NFL. He may not be fast enough. He may not have a strong enough arm to play in the NFL. This is not like Oklahoma where everybody throws the ball 50, 60 times a game. And they were just trying to not. Remember, we talked about this before. And it doesn't matter who you are. You got to compete because the world's not trying to help you succeed, but they will applaud you once you win. Everybody loves a winner. But when he outperforms 22 other NFL quarterbacks, they were still talking him not being good enough to be an NFL quarterback coming into the season. And then when you look at what Jackson did, it's just impressive. The second NFL second-year quarterback, Josh Allen for the Bills, Sam Darnold for the Jets. You can say NFL media-made boys. They're both tall, Caucasian quarterbacks. I don't care what color somebody is. But think about this, Big C. Baker Mayfield. They accounted for 3 touchdowns. That's Josh Allen, Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield. And 5 interceptions. They're all Caucasian. They're all told, listen to this, they're all told that you're what we want. You're the next prodigal quarterback for the NFL. The media says to the universe, these are the guys that are going to be the next Johnny Unitas, the next Joe Montana, the next Warren Moon. They say that to them. But then when a lot of talented black guys come out of college winning Heisman trophies, national championships, they want to make them defensive backs, wide receivers. Lamar Jackson of the Baltimore Ravens, he accounted for 6 touchdowns and 0 interceptions. He outperformed all the prodigal quarterbacks who have the look that the NFL says it loves. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, he did that as an individual, Charlton, and you can also toss Josh Rosen, who got some late game activity with those Miami Dolphins that the Baltimore Ravens beat up on.
Yeah.
So when you think about the 4 quarterbacks that were drafted in front of Lamar Jackson, and they could not equal the statistics and offensive production all combined. When you think about that, Josh Rosen, Josh Allen, Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield.
Yep.
All 4 of those quarterbacks combined, Charlton, did not put up as many points as the Baltimore Ravens did.
Yeah.
You think about that. 4 against 1. Lamar Jackson outperformed everybody.
Yeah.
And this is a guy that the media said that teams were asking at the combine to try out as a defensive back and a wide receiver. They didn't ask any of those other 4 quarterbacks to try out as a tight end or a wide receiver or a defensive back.
No.
That they were bona fide franchise players. Lamar Jackson has proved them all his pundits wrong, Charlton. You think about him as a starter last year during the regular season.
Yeah.
He was 7-1, I believe, for the Ravens. He has also now started out 1-0 this year, Charlton.
Yeah.
He is the hottest young quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah, he really is, but he's also the most media maligned. And again, you media guys, the way Big C Sports says Google it, we say Google it. If we're wrong, you'll know it right away. You don't have to wait another year. Google all the pundits that you listen to on TV and radio that told you this guy didn't have what it takes. And then ask yourself, why are you still listening to them? Prescott of the Cowboys, he outperformed 30 starting quarterbacks. Jerry Jones, are you listening? Prescott outperformed 30 starting NFL quarterbacks in the NFL. Only one had a higher passer rating, and that was Andy Dalton in the Bengals' loss to Seattle. He had to have a higher rating because they had to keep throwing the ball. Jerry Jones has to know those numbers, Big. He's a money guy, Big. He's a numbers guy. Your thoughts?
Oh, he does. Andy Dalton is the only quarterback to pass for more yards in a game, but that was in a loss because he was chasing an opponent, Charlton.
Yeah.
Dak Prescott was playing from ahead. So you think about Dak Prescott, I saw him had 2 balls that were dropped that he hit receivers in the hand.
Yeah.
But he didn't have to throw the ball as much, Charlton. He had Ezekiel Elliott, who came in, carried the ball a dozen times for the Cowboys, scored on the ground.
Yep.
Dak Prescott was in complete command of the game that he was quarterbacking against the vaunted New York Giants. You talk about a conference rival. These 2 teams have hated each other for decades. and the Giants go all out regardless of their record against the Cowboys.
Yep.
But Dak Prescott was unfazed throughout this game, and he's been unfazed really in his last 4 years in the NFL. If you think about him as a starter, only Tom Brady has more victories in the last 4 years in the NFL than Dak Prescott.
Yeah, so you think about that, and it's just a matter of, we're about Google. Just Google it. You don't have to worry about what Big C Sports is or some other guy that you might think is the guy you want to listen to. Google what we say, and then you decide who to listen to. And we have 2 games tonight, Monday Night Football. I want to get to them, but I want to make sure. Baltimore 59, Miami 10. Kansas City 40, Jacksonville 26. Minnesota 28, Atlanta 12. Tennessee 43, and Cleveland 13. Buffalo 17. The Jets 16. The Rams 30, Carolina 27. Philadelphia 32, Washington 27, LA Chargers 30, Indianapolis 24 in overtime, Seattle 21-20 over Cincinnati, Dallas 35-17 over the Giants. Are you listening, Jerry Jones? The 49ers 31, Tampa Bay 17, Detroit 27, and Arizona 27 in overtime. Big C, we saw how New England beat down the Pittsburgh Steelers 33-3. It's just uncharacteristic to see a Tomlin team beaten in that fashion. But tonight, we have the Houston Texans on the road at New Orleans, Drew Brees and Watson. And the Saints fans, of course, are still talking about what happened against the Rams last year. Well, they got to look forward. You can't look backward. They're playing Houston tonight. And I know Brees threw for like 3,992 yards last year. But they got to focus on this team, not what happened last year. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I think this is a team that can move forward with all the things that have happened to them over the last 2 years. When you think about the Minneapolis Miracle when they lost to the Vikings, Charlton, with that Stephon Diggs reception.
Amazing.
You think about the no call against the Rams last year against Jacoby Coleman and Charlton out there in the flats.
Yep.
The Saints are a resilient city. This is a city that rebounded from Hurricane Katrina.
Yeah.
So you think about a city that had a rich history of losing. They came and got on the top of the NFL, Charlton. They've had a couple of setbacks in the last couple of years. No team and no city should have gone through what the Saints have gone through.
Yeah.
But the resiliency of that city is the backdrop of this team, Charlton. They're not thinking about last year. They've made some moves to move on this year.
Yep.
They've upgraded their team, Charlton. They're looking forward to dominating their division right now.
Well, it should be a great game tonight. Now, also over in the Coliseum in Oakland, now the last year, we expect is the last year they'll play in Oakland, and they'll have the new stadium ready down in Las Vegas. And for the Oakland fans, it's amazing to see so many years. I think they came in the early 60s, Big C, and to have them move to Los Angeles and then come back, and now they want to leave again. And the fans, I mean, you have to have some diehard fans that just keep loving and living by the Raiders. John Gruden says, we wish Antonio Brown nothing but the best. Who wishes somebody nothing but the best when they rip your heart out, Big C? And on top of that, it's been so much turmoil with this organization, and they've been outsmarted again by Belichick, who also, the Tuck rule started with Belichick and Gruden. Just give me your feeling on the last start of the season from Monday night in Oakland, Big C, your thoughts.
Well, this is the 50th year of Monday Night Football, Charlton. And when you think about the illustrious history and some of the great games that have been played on Monday Night Football, the Raiders have had a rich part of that history, as well as the Denver Broncos, Charlton, on Monday Night Football. But as I look at John Gruden once again in back-to-back years, will he be the executive of the year for back-to-back years in the NFL? You think last year he helped 3 teams, Charlton, make it to the playoffs.
Yeah.
He helped the Dallas Cowboys with Amari Cooper. He helped the Chicago Bears with Khalil Mack.
Yep.
He helped the Baltimore Ravens with Michael Crabtree.
Yeah.
Now he's assisted the New England Patriots with Antonio Brown. Is there a smarter head coach in the NFL? You think about this. John Gruden, in a 2-year span, will help 4 teams get to the NFL playoffs, and he's not coaching any one of them. And he's getting paid for it.
What a bargain. So what, Big C, that commercial, what can Brown do for you? What can $100 million do for you? It'll trade away all your favorite players. And I wish the Raiders greatness. I wish them nothing but the best. I grew up out on the West Coast, watching these players in this organization. But this is the last year that they'll have an opening night, Monday night game. It is just amazing that Oakland's gone through such. So we hope that everyone enjoyed the first, big weekend for NFL football. But I want to get your thoughts real quick before we close out on baseball and a little thought about Serena Williams. I want to get your thoughts. Who's been your most impressive team in college football, Big C, over the first 2 weeks? Your thoughts?
Well, realistically, Charlton, the team is not even ranked in the top 25. I look at the University of Maryland, coached by Mike Locksley, an African-American coach. This team is leading college football, the NCAA, in scoring. And Maryland is averaging roughly 72 points a ball game.
Wow.
So think about that. 72 points a game in their first 2 games.
Yep.
This is an unheard of number when you think about major college football. And they're Big Ten power. You named off some teams in the Big Ten that are in the top 25, Ohio State, Michigan State, Iowa, Charlton.
Wisconsin.
That are in Wisconsin, that are in the top 25.
Yeah.
No one's talking about Maryland. Don't go to sleep on Maryland. Think about what Alabama did offensively last year until they ran into Clemson in the national championship game, Charlton.
Yeah.
This was a team that was averaging about 50 points a ball game. Mike Locksley has Maryland averaging more than what Alabama is this year. Maryland is averaging 20 points more a game than what Alabama is since Mike Locksley has left there.
Wow, that's incredible, Big C. So we'll really pay attention to Maryland, and I'm sure they're gonna sneak up on a couple more people. What's the biggest deal over the weekend? U.S. Open, Serena Williams losing, or Rafael Nadal winning? Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I really think it's Rafael Nadal winning because now he's only 1 Grand Slam behind Roger Federer. Just as when you think about Serena Williams, she was only 1 Grand Slam away from tying the record. But I look at Serena Williams where she is in her career right now, Charlton. She's 38 years old.
Yeah,
she has made it to 5 Grand Slams, but she has consistently run out of gas when she's gotten to the finals in those Grand Slams. So I don't know if we'll ever see Serena Williams win again because those young legs that she's been playing at the end, Charlton, seem just to have a little more in the tank than she does.
Well, sometimes young legs are better than old legs, Big C. That's what I hear from some old people anyway. But you can follow Big C Sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on the #1 podcast network in the universe, an iHeartRadio podcast. You can follow Big C Sports on Apple Podcasts. You can follow Big C Sports on Google Podcasts. You can follow Big C Sports on Speaker. You can even find us on Xfinity Comcast Television. What I really love are the apps by Alexa and Google. Say Alexa or Google, play Big C Sports Podcast. You'll hear from our sponsors. You'll hear welcome to the show. I'll introduce Big C as the Mystic, and he'll do his thing, and I really appreciate all of our sponsors for their support. Big C, in Major League Baseball, it's amazing how you can win a World Series last year, and then the team starts playing Janet Jackson, that song, What Have You Done For Me Lately, and that's what they played. The Boston Red Sox, all of a sudden, they fired team president Dave Dombrowski after 3 short seasons and the World Series, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, it's amazing how teams in professional sports moving along. And here's Dombrowski. I mean, because the Boston has not performed this year, after winning the World Series last year, he gave out some big contracts to some pitchers, Charlton, that haven't delivered or been healthy this season for the Red Sox. The team has felt that it was a reason to part way with the team president. Series champion.
That's incredible. It just doesn't make any sense. You're supposed to put your heart and soul into things, but sometimes it just doesn't happen in the world of baseball. And so tonight's schedule in Boston is pretty sad because the Patriots are doing great things. They fire the guy that helped them get to the World Series. Atlanta at Philadelphia, Arizona at New York, the New York Yankees at Boston. What a time to fire your guy when the Yankees are in town, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, the Yankees right now, Charlton, when you think about where they are in baseball, just a couple of weeks ago, we were talking about the Dodgers being a shoe-in and the best team in baseball.
Yeah.
They're now dropped to the second best team in baseball because the Houston Astros and the New York Yankees are tied for the best record in the major league now, surpassing the Dodgers.
Yeah, they're doing their thing. Milwaukee at Miami, Oakland at Houston, Pittsburgh at San Francisco. The Cleveland is at the L.A. Angels, and then Chicago is at San Diego on the West Coast. So there's a lot going on in the sports universe. Love bringing you Big C Sports. And I know everybody is happy about football. Baseball is really into the swing, looking for the hunt for October. And I know basketball is right around the corner. Big C, back in the day, there was a man by the name of Drew Boudini Brown. He was known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man. And he would always tell Ali, with all you got to use, how can you lose? Rumble, young men, rumble. Big C, what are you looking forward to in the sports universe?
Charlton, it was a fantastic weekend of college and professional football. We saw some outstanding performances and some outstanding numbers. Now, with the 50th anniversary of Monday Night Football tonight, Charlton, going to sit back and watch these two great combatants go at it, Charlton, tonight, the New Orleans Saints and the Houston Texans, and then turn to the Oakland Raiders and the Denver Broncos for the last time in Oakland.
Well, for all the people in Oakland, follow Big C Sports every Monday through Friday at 5 and 6 p.m. worldwide on the #1 network in the United States of America, on iHeartRadio podcast, and Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe. And I'm also going to tell you, we always tell you there's never, ever an excuse for domestic violence. If you know any man or woman going through that garbage, please pick up the phone and call 911, because no man or woman should ever have to go through that garbage on their own. And as we always tell you on every Big C Sports show, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.